Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Ranting Shop with me, Melissa, and we're back in this with another review of Young, Famous, and African Season 2, Episode 5. We left off where Bonang stormed out because she was so upset with Louis, and I'm still not understanding where all her anger came from, right? So, the guys that's left, they're discussing everything that is taking place, and Swanky is still gonna open his mouth to tell Louis that he didn't think that Louis's apology was genuine and that Louis was wrong for the hotel thing. And I'm just so confused because the first conversation they had at the basketball court, Louis did admit that he was wrong, right? He never contended that his behavior was wrong. So why is it that at this bonfire, Swanky is still gonna open his mouth to tell Louis that he's wrong when Louis knows he was wrong and he apologized? I'm so confused at this point. This is just plain bullying, and it's just being blind to BS. Just because Bonang is your friend, Swanky, that means you could look at Louis and tell him foolishness. It's crazy to me. This season is showing me how messy Swanky is. And I know people love Swanky, but that move he put there with Louis was despicable. It's almost like he decided to be blind to what took place and persist on with his foolishness. Like, I'm with Louis. What do you want him to do? Do you want him to get on his knees and beg? So we're back with Louis. Louis is saying that he got some time to sleep on it and his feelings about the situation still hasn't changed. And I don't know which person would feel better after a night's sleep after being like literally assaulted non-stop from somebody where you don't really know the person and you don't know where their anger is coming from even after you apologize. It's crazy to me. So Zari came, I guess, to hear his story and to see like if anything could be resolved, and basically he says the same thing. He keeps repeating the same story, so it's difficult to call him a liar when he's been consistent. The only thing that I have a problem with is him, Swanky, telling Bonang something about flowers in hotel room when Louis never mentioned anything about flowers in a hotel room. That's the part that I'm not understanding, what it has to do with anything. As far as Louis retelling the story, he always says the same thing. So either way, Zari believes him. She just doesn't understand why Bonang is so angry. And she suggested they sit down to speak. Louis doesn't want to do it. Nobody's blaming him. My question is, why is Zari referring to his name as Louis? Is that the African way to say Louis? I'm confused. So ready or not, you guys, the sit down is happening. The anticipated sit down. We've been waiting for it for a long time. We have Swanky in the right corner and we have Annie in the left corner. Let's see what happens. So Swanky decided to go right down the pipeline. Okay, why did you share my personal voice message with other people? All right, that is answered for. Okay, so do you know that I was on that call with you and your manager, whatever the case may be? She's saying she fired the person. And he's like breaking it down and telling her, you didn't know I was on the call, but I heard you say A, B, C, and D. You want to shine, you don't want Swanky to be involved, and so on. So she's going along and saying, well, she's not going along, but she's saying that these things did not happen and that phone call did not take place. So right now I'm highly confused. I'm befuddled. Alright, it just went left field because all of a sudden Miss Annie is going to resort to name calling him a child and basically kind of insulting him and saying that he's only been famous for 1 year. Now, I'm not familiar with Swanky. I've only seen him really shining ever since this show has been taking place, honestly. I don't know Swanky. I don't know Annie either, but I do know Two-Face and I do know Diamond. These are literally the only African people that I know because I love African music, and I love the old school African music. Now, Diamond is still very relevant. I don't really know any more Two-Face songs, but between the both of them, I knew not one of them prior to this show. But I understand what Annie is trying to say, but then you're trying to humble Swanky, but that has nothing to do with you addressing what he said he heard from you, Annie. So it's either you said it or you did not say it. I understand where Annie is coming from. If you had an issue with Annie, you should have addressed it when it happened, a day after, a week after, maybe even a month after you calm down. But don't wait 7 months, right, for that anger to be building up between both of y'all before you address it, right? Don't let that happen, because what's gonna happen is exactly what we saw happen on this show. You're gonna tell other people eventually, because they keep asking you. These other people will interpret what you said, whether truthfully or untruthfully, and go and spread it to the other person and maybe add 20 more things on there, right? Which would create more animosity and more tension, right? Instead of you guys just coming together and decide before we make this go any further, before we decide to divulge the information to any other people, because you know this crowd is messy. Let's address it together and with each other. Now, I thought that is how it was gonna go, but last episode 4, they decided to divulge it to other people. That was their biggest mistake. So I understand where Annie is coming from, but she played a part in it as well, because she should have reached out to Swanky. You guys, I'm not satisfied with this conversation. Why? Because Mr. Swanky is literally telling Annie, you did A, B, C, and D to me. And instead of Annie addressing these things, the scenario, the whole situation that Swanky has literally laid out for her to explain, she's deciding to completely bypass it and go into, you're my brother, I love you, and let's forget about this. No, that is not how conflict works. That is not how conflict is resolved. You need to address the said situation. When that situation is properly explained and addressed, then everything else could happen. But until then, it would always be unresolved. He would always not be able to trust you because of what he experienced. You telling him that you love him and you're telling him that he's like a brother does not negate what he experienced with you. Address what he experienced with you, unless she doesn't want to do it in front of cameras. Maybe that's what it is, because Annie appears to me to be an extremely private person. She does not want people to know too much about her business, and when that information is leaked out in the blogs, it shatters her core, because she cannot control her personal life. She cannot keep it private. Maybe that's what it is, but I'm not feeling this whole sit down and apology situation. To me, that was a fail. That was a glossing over of the real issues. So as we knew, Nadia couldn't wait to tell Kani about that dinner with the innocents. And of course, the Idibia story, of course, Kani is not surprised, because I think she has a clear assessment of who Two-Face is, and that is why she called him an a-hole in the first season when she met him, because based on things Annie has told her, it just is not shocking that Two-Face would say things like that. Two-Face is literally telling people who he is, and he's acting as if he's so worried about what he's doing and the children's view of. He doesn't care about the children's view of him. He doesn't care about how much Annie hurts. He wants to do what he wants to do, period. So obviously right now there's still kind of a disalignment with Kani and Annie, and I think the reason why is because of what Kani did when she did that mask party and she was calling people out and she said, F you Annie, F you this, F you that. Annie is not like the other people that just let that roll off their back. She's a certain type of person, raised a certain type of way, expects a certain type of level of, cordiality with her friends. And she didn't expect that from Kanye, and I feel like that's the reason why she probably doesn't speak to Kanye. Kanye acts like she is oblivious. But sometimes you do the smallest things that might really offend your friends, right? You just need to do something small, and that's gonna be all they need to protect themselves. That's all they need. So Louis enters the chat and he's been speaking about the fact that, Kanye is the one that introduced him to the group, and she's not really been there to help him navigate through the crowd and know, okay, don't say this with that person, don't talk to that person about that. He's just been going through it on his own, and as we see, it's not been going very well. So now Naked comes into the fold, and so Nadia figures it's a perfect time to let Louis know what went on at the Adibia's dinner. Louis is saying that's not the Tubaba he knows, but does he even know Two-Face personally? I just highly doubt it. All you know of Two-Face is his music, and that's the mistake a lot of people make about the celebrity fans that they have. They think they know them so much, and they would go to bat for them, they would fight battles for them on social media, and they really don't know anything about these people. Okay, here we go again, blaming Nadia. I don't think Nadia had anything to do with anything that Two-Face decided to say. Naked, between you and Andile, I really just don't understand men. Especially, I think this is a prime example actually of a man writing for his male friends. Like, the man could be incriminating himself, but they would swear to you up and down that that's not what's happening. They're quick to gaslight you over their friends' foolishness. It's crazy to me. Alright, so Louis decided to tell them the story of him and Bonang and that whole situation. Basically, he's saying that for whatever reason I offended Bonang. Okay? Bonang is saying because he's a liar, but I don't know for sure. Naked is piping up to say, well, that's not the Bonang he knows, because Bonang is a sweet person and she's not known to get that upset. But then again, like, you don't really know your friends. Like, your friend will act in a particular way based on who she's with. She may be sweet with you, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's a sweet person. I think people have to start understanding that and start watching who they keep for, especially because they don't know the people. So Nadia pipes up and she's basically saying to him, well, maybe if you offended anybody, it wouldn't necessarily be Bonang, because you were not talking about Bonang, but it would be Fantana. Fantana didn't look offended to me, you guys. Did Fantana look offended to any one of you? Let me know in the comment section. Did Fantana look offended? Because she really didn't. So Kanye is listening to all this tea, right? And of course, she agrees with Louis that Swanky is to be blamed. And I think that he is to be blamed just because he kept adding fuel to the fire. The man already apologized, and you're still telling him that he should apologize. Like, what exactly do you want the man to say? He said what he felt he needed to say. He stated the situation and he said that he was sorry. So it's like, instead of like being at least neutral, you decided, no, I'm gonna stick with Bonang, right or wrong, and it just made you look biased and it made you look childish. So we have Kaylee and Naked hosting a polo event, so they're gonna dress up nicely like a Kentucky Derby and go watch races. That sounds fun to me. It really speaks to the fact that, for me, I don't feel like Naked really likes Louis like that. Apparently, his name is Louis. I'm sorry. So Naked doesn't really like him like that for whatever reason. I don't know. I feel like Naked just needs to shut up, because Louis didn't do anything wrong. You just need to shut up, because even when people are, well, anyways, he's not gonna want to believe Louis because he doesn't like Louis. But if he hears the story from anybody else, everybody would say no, Bonang was like out of order, and he would still blame Louis. Louis is right. I wouldn't want to be a part of this group either, because they can't wait to get tea on you to embarrass you in front of other people. Alright, so Zari is like repeating what Naked was saying, which is, haven't you and Louis decided to go out on a date? And she's like, oh, he asked me out, but I guess nothing has really happened yet, right? And then Naked is like, oh, Louis, you're speaking on behalf of Fantana. And now Zari's piping up to see. She sees a pattern with Fantana in that other people speak on her behalf. Now, to me, that's just Zari poking the bear. Like, does she really want to go there? Because I personally just want to see a sit down or a situation where there's like no drama. That's all. I just want to see no drama and people speaking about their careers. How did you get rich and how did you get famous? That's what I want to know. Okay, that's it. But Zari is poking the bear, and it's just a matter of time before Fantana breaks loose. Zari is saying that Diamond has a woman, so good luck, Fantana. But Diamond doesn't seem like he cares too much about relationships. So after what Mr. Idibia, Mr. Two-Face pulled at that dinner, he would not be seeing me or be seen with me anytime after that. Wife or not, no wife, he would not be seen with me at all. Embarrassing. So anyway, Swanky, Annie, they kiss each other. All the group members are shocked and surprised. Like, when did you guys make up? You know? Zari definitely likes drama. She definitely does. And I cannot stand it. But then she's asking the questions I guess the other folks around the table want to know. What made you guys make up? Why did you make up? Who decided to concede? But really and truly, it's none of any of their business besides Annie and Swanky. So they're going back and forth about who knows where Diamond is. Zari saying Tanzania. Fantana is saying he's on tour. I don't know. He could be on tour in Tanzania. Like, two of these things could be true. It's just that he didn't give Fantana all the details. So Fantana, for some reason, decided to bring up the fact that that Diamond told her that him and Zari, or he said Zari wants another kid with him, which I don't think was anybody's business to know. I don't think that was information that should have been divulged. But since everybody's being messy, it is on brand with the mess. So Zari is clarifying and telling the others, well, since we're not together, I saw it as a situation where there could be like a surrogacy situation. I have no clue. Either way, it's messy. So Zari's explaining. Fantana is like, you know what? Y'all can keep that. I don't want to talk to Diamond anymore. It's too much drama. It's too much problems. Clearly, she's realizing that although they're not together, they're quite close. And it's not one-sided. Obviously, Diamond has to be agreeing to the things Zari is explaining that she wants. So I guess the best thing for her to do is to leave Diamond alone if she doesn't want to be entangled in the mess. So Zari is basically saying, like, don't you see Diamond is just saying bullshit to you to, like, get in your pants? And which is what he is doing. That is exactly what Diamond is doing. But Fantana is denying it and saying, oh, she is not that into him. He's not in her top 5, which I think she's fronting. She's fronting because she knows she wants that man. But I don't think she wants him in regards to attraction. She wants him because he's a major star and he could potentially do something to boost her career. That would probably be the only reason why she would want to or be interested in Diamond, to be honest. But she's fronting and saying she's not that into him. So everybody goes to their respective corners with their respective friends, and Nadia is here with Swanky and like talking about the whole sit down he had with Annie, and he's essentially saying he doesn't buy it. It was not a meeting that ended in, and nothing was really resolved. Everything was just pushed under the rug. And Nadia is probably right. Annie does feel embarrassed and she just doesn't want to address it on camera. But I feel like not addressing it with your so-called friend, it just speaks to the fact that you don't really want this friendship to be genuine or to go back to normal. Because if you did, you would address it, whether it was good, bad, or ugly. You would own your part to it. Say, yes, I called, you were on the line, I wasn't aware of that, I was upset, I felt this way, I felt that way, and for that, for how that made you feel, I apologize, because that was not my intention. I was thinking this way at the moment, and I wasn't thinking with you in mind. I was selfish. Just take accountability and own your ish. That's all. And for this situation, I'm with Swanky. He is right. You know, you should have owned up to it. You can't resolve something that he says cut him so deeply by simply saying, you're my friend and I love you. It does not work that way. You know, so I completely understand why he himself does not trust Annie, and Annie does not really trust him. So Louis is pulling Fantana aside to apologize to Fantana, because based on what Nadia told him, I guess he didn't see it that way, that maybe Fantana was probably offended. Fantana was not offended. You know, Fantana looks like she's used to being people's side chicks. She's okay with that. I'm just joking. But anyways, he's apologizing because he's a softie. And when people tell him he's wrong, he's gonna take full accountability and try to fix it. He's a nice guy, honestly. Let me tell you something. You see that blow off that Bonang had? And that energy she had for Lois, it had zero to nothing to do with Fantana and him offending Fantana. That had nothing to do with Fantana. Do not ever get that twisted. She did not do that because her and Fantana have this close relationship and she feels the need to want to stick up for Fantana and defend Fantana. That had nothing to do with that. It's simply because Louis said it. She does not like Louis. She has a problem with Louis. It has nothing to do with Fantana. Let's get that straight. And for her to tell the man if she doesn't go and sit down with Bonang, she would not go out on a date with him. Yes, it is manipulative. Because I think the worst thing you could do is force people to make up when they're not ready. Because that backlash and the repercussions that can come from that could be worse than them just staying to themselves and being on their own. Trust. So we have Miss Fantana in her room, sitting up in her room, you know, trying to talk to Diamond about the situation that happened with Zari. She's calling Diamond. Diamond isn't picking up. That doesn't surprise me for some reason, because it seems to me like Diamond is a person where I feel like if Zari says she doesn't like this person or she has a problem with the person he's talking to, it feels to me like he would have no problem dropping that person because of Zari's sake. I'm not saying that that is the situation, but I'm not going to be surprised if that is the situation. She's saying people doesn't understand her and Diamond's relationship, and because there's really nothing to make sense of there. I don't know. So Swanky is having another get together, right? And everybody's coming dressed fancy, looking good. And Louis is saying the only reason he's coming is to talk with Bonang. And here Swanky goes again, saying that Louis was wrong. Like, what do you, like, I don't know what else to say. This is really annoying me. Like, what else could the man have done? You keep saying he's wrong. He tried to fix it. It didn't go. What else do you want the man to do? So Connie, as she said, she's familiar with gin, so she doesn't have to be instructed on how things work, okay? She was gonna have own and operate a gin company until the COVID thing happened, and then she decided to dissolve the business. I don't know how the conversation went from making gin to talking about sex, but Miss Zari is like, oh, she's in a long distance thing, and you know, how does she, or how is she able to spice it up? And Nadia is telling her to do sex videos and, you know, stuff like that. Either way it goes, let the conversation die, please. Because last I checked, that Mensa guy, what's his name? and Nadia no longer work. So I don't know, maybe the sex videos didn't pull him, right? Maybe it didn't. So Swanky is announcing to everybody that Bonang, I guess, no longer wants to be a part of the show, which is really sad because beside her blowing off on Louis and getting so angry with Louis, I actually liked her, and I actually could see so many parts of Kani in Bonang, and in fact I even prefer Bonang to Kani. So it's really shocking, but then it's not that shocking, because I feel like she's probably embarrassed with her behavior. She probably felt like she went off and there was no going back, so she pushed forward with that, and she regrets it, and she doesn't want to face people with it because she's embarrassed by it. So they're all breaking like theories and assumptions about why Bonang decided not to be a part of the group anymore. And I feel like Kani is correct in that her probably last and final deal had to do with Louis and her blowing up on Louis. And she's saying that Bonang is not somebody that is used to being spoken down to, spoken up to. She's not used to people defending themselves against her. So, maybe that is what got to her. I feel like Kani was right. He stood up to somebody that's not used to people standing up to her, and that is what it is. And I love what she said, because that was a jab at Swanky. She was there with people that are her diehard friends and are gonna always stick up to her and stick up for her, no matter if she's right or wrong. And it's a fact. The hit dog hollered. The hit dog hollered. Hey, Swanky, he's a diehard for all his friends. Don't come there with that. You were very selectively biased towards Louis, knowing fully well Louis did all what he could do, but you decided to stick up for Bonang because Bonang is your closer friend. Don't come there with that. No, man, Nadia was right for calling Swanky out on his BS. The man is opening up and trying to explain that regardless of her shouting at him, he was still apologetic. Whether he had to shout louder so she can hear the apology or not, that doesn't mean he was in the wrong too. So Swanky, don't try and make it seem like Louis was in the wrong too, because he did not do anything wrong. And I'm happy that Nadia decided to stand up for Louis and say, no, you Swanky are not allowing Louis to speak. Now that could also be because Nadia doesn't like Bonang. For whatever reason, they fell out. But still, she's right. Let the man speak. Allow him to speak. You're cutting him off to say what? Exactly. Poor Louis. I feel so sad for him, because it's like, in this type of group, if you don't have backbone, you're gonna be crushed. You're gonna be stepped on. So if you don't have a backbone, it's better you just go to some other show, because I do not feel like this is the show for you. You see how vicious these people are? You think they're gonna have room and create room for soft-spoken, emotionally intelligent, or maybe not intelligent, but emotional Louis? Come on. Let me know what you guys think about the episode. First of all, tell me, do you like the way that Swanky and Annie made up? Because I didn't. That was BS. Secondly, do you feel like it was right for Swanky to go ahead and completely ignore the facts of the situation and continuously blame Louis? Tell me. Let me know in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.